Before we get into the chaos you're about to hear, hit that like button now and subscribe. Trust me, you'll want to stay with me for this one. Because what unfolded in that committee room was the kind of moment that makes you wonder whether anyone in government is actually keeping track of anything at all. Picture the scene. Rupert Lowe leans forward, steady, measured, but with that unmistakable "I've had enough" energy simmering underneath. He clears his throat, thanks the chairman politely, always very British, and then turns his attention to the permanent secretary, and that's when everything begins to tighten. He explains, almost wearily, that through his parliamentary office he has submitted, wait for it, 610 questions to the Home Office since the election. 610, and hundreds of those questions were about data. Yet around 90% of the time, the answer came back as either no data available or not centrally collected. Now imagine doing your job while 90% of the information you need just doesn't exist. You'd go mad, wouldn't you? Lowe goes on, and you can almost hear the frustration sharpening in his voice. He reminds her, very pointedly, that police forces do collect this data because they receive it directly through FOI requests. So clearly, someone, somewhere has it. The room tightens, and then he fires the question straight down the line. How many illegal migrants have absconded or gone missing from Home Office accommodation in the past 5 years? Do you actually know the number? And you, watching this now, probably expect a straight answer. Go on, admit it, you're hoping she'll just tell him. But of course she doesn't. Instead, she reminds him, in that wonderfully polished civil service tone, that the matter has recently been looked into by the ICBI and that a report will be published in due course. At that moment, you can literally see Lowe's patience evaporate. He leans back, eyebrows raised, as if to say, "Here we go again." He repeats the point, because clearly someone has to, that the Home Office still doesn't hold the data. And then he asks what everyone watching is probably thinking: is this ideological? Is it incompetence? Or is it something else entirely? Because the British public wants answers. They want to know the impact this rising number of illegal migrants is having on local police forces. They want to know what strain it puts on officers who are already stretched thin. And honestly, don't you want to know too? If you do, press that like button right now so more people see what's going on. But Lowe isn't finished, not even close. He points out the obvious. How can you improve police efficiency when they're being loaded with immigration duties the Home Office isn't even tracking? How do you measure, report, or assess anything when the basic information needed to make decisions just doesn't exist? You'd go mad, wouldn't you? When the permanent secretary pushes back gently, saying she didn't claim she didn't know, only that a report is coming, Lowe's expression practically speaks for the nation. There's always a report, there's always a delay, there's always in due course. He hammers home the absurdity. This is 2025, with AI, cloud systems, digital tracking, real-time analytics. Collecting this data should be child's play. And yet here we are, with senior officials shrugging and insisting someone else will publish something at some point in the future. By the time Lowe concludes, he delivers the line that summarizes the entire mess without needing any embellishment. You can't run a business without knowing the data. It's impossible. And honestly, he's right, isn't he? Even you wouldn't run your household budget without knowing what's coming in and going out. You'd be laughed out of the aisle. But here, in one of the most important government departments in the country, that very logic seems acceptable. Now, if you're still with me, and I know you are, make sure you've hit that like button, because what happens next is the kind of thing that makes ordinary people at home shout at their screens. The chairman shifts slightly, probably sensing the tension thickening in the room. Lowe's voice steadies again, but that edge remains, sharp enough to cut through the civil service fog drifting across the table. He reminds them, once more, that the entire point of the question wasn't to embarrass anyone, but to understand how on earth the Home Office expects to run a functioning system without even the most basic numbers. And honestly, imagine trying to manage anything, your job, your business, even your weekly food shop, without knowing your figures. Imagine going to the supermarket and saying, "Well, I don't know my budget because the report on my spending habits will be published in due course." You'd be laughed out of the aisle.
Yet here, in one of the most important government departments in the country, that very logic seems acceptable. Lowe turns slightly, eyebrows raised, and you can almost hear the unspoken question, does anyone here actually know what's going on? And let's be honest, don't you feel the same? Drop a comment if you do, because this is the kind of thing the public needs to speak up about. Then comes the part that really lands. Lowe explains that meeting after meeting, the same pattern repeats. He sat through countless briefings where officials admit, sometimes almost casually, that they simply don't have the data. And every single time, the consequences ripple outwards. If you don't know how many migrants have disappeared from accommodation, if you don't know how much strain it puts on local policing, if you don't know the impact on budgets, staffing, safety and community cohesion, then how can decisions be made responsibly? It's like trying to fix a leak in your roof while refusing to look up. The permanent secretary sits there, composed, maintaining the classic civil service poise, but the answers feel mechanical, pre-packaged, wrapped in layers of "we will publish," "in due course," "not my decision," "under consideration." And you, watching this, might be thinking, why is no one ever accountable? Why is no one ever sure? Lowe presses again, and there's a moment, brief but unmistakable, when you sense the entire room knows he's right. Because police efficiency, immigration policy, community safety, none of these can function on guesswork. Not in a country of 67 million people. Not with rising pressures, not with public patience thinning by the day. He spells it out plainly. Without accurate data, decisions become guesses. Guesses become mistakes, and mistakes, when it comes to national security, carry consequences no report can fix after the fact. At this point, even the chairman looks like he wants the answer answered properly, but instead the same cycle repeats: deferral, delay, and the eternal promise of a future report that will supposedly clarify everything. You can almost hear Lowe's internal monologue. If I had £1 for every "in due course," I'd be funding the police myself. And honestly, you can't blame him, can you? Millions of people across the country are asking the same questions he is, and if you're one of them, go ahead, give the video a like so this reaches more viewers who deserve transparency as much as you do. If you're still here, and I know you are, tap that like button if you haven't yet, because what happens next is exactly the kind of moment that shows you how disconnected the system can be from the people it's supposed to serve. Lowe sits back for a second, almost as if he's giving the permanent secretary one final chance to rescue the situation. But of course, she doubles down on the familiar line. It's not her decision, the report will speak for itself, and the committee simply needs to wait. Always waiting, always in limbo, always soon. And that really is where the whole exchange leaves us, staring at a system that keeps promising answers tomorrow while the problems grow today. You could feel it in the room, couldn't you? That awkward quiet when everyone knows something isn't working, but no one wants to admit it out loud. Lowe wasn't just pushing for numbers, he was pushing for honesty, for clarity, for the simple truth the public is owed. And if this moment shows us anything, it's that sunlight is still the best disinfectant. So before you click away, do me a favor, make your voice count, hit the like button if you believe transparency shouldn't be optional, drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you want to stay ahead of the stories others tiptoe around, subscribe to UK Now so you never miss what's really happening behind those closed doors. Because if they won't hold themselves accountable, someone has to, and that someone might just be you.